Good evening, folks, and welcome to Ridgecrest Talk. I'm Al Huey, along with my partner, Robert Eierman, and our special guest this evening is Mr. Gary Parsons, Economic Development Manager. Thanks for joining us, Gary.
Thank you,
Appreciate it. Wanted to talk to you a little bit. At a recent council meeting, you gave like a PowerPoint 3-part, 4-part video presentation of some marketing program that you're working on to try to draw more business to the community.
Right.
Can you
let me
go over it a little bit? I know
sure. I'll give you
a lot of time to go through the whole thing.
No. We would be here a while longer. Basically, the presentation was designed to give the council an update on one area of economic development activities that the staff is doing. That is primarily relative to industrial recruitment, meaning trying to bring, essentially the goal there is to bring jobs into the valley and diversify the economy in terms of other businesses in town. And it was a video, 20-minute video presentation. We were trying to upgrade our technology for the millenniums. We probably didn't do a very good job, but we tried. And then there was a PowerPoint that followed it. So it was a combination of a long video that within the video there was like 7 individual, what we call impact videos. So it was, in retrospect, it was a little confusing perhaps to the council to figure out what was going to be actually going out in the field and what was going to be, what was in the 20-minute video. The purpose of the program primarily was to provide the council with an overview of what the activities have been with the consultant that we've hired to help us market and sell the city outside of the city to other communities. The material was, in some of the confusion in the meeting, the material would never be used by anybody in the city. And most likely, most people wouldn't. 99% of people would never see the material inside the city. It was designed for material that would be used for recruiting companies out of Oklahoma or other parts of California or Texas or other places. So it wasn't really a local community.
That's a hard sell these days, being that this is California.
Oh yes, it's a definite effort.
Try to draw somebody from Texas to come to California.
That's right, Texas to California or Oklahoma to California. Well, one of the big things is that the first thing we have to do is fight the battle of that very attitude that California is difficult to do business in. And I won't tell you it's the easiest state to go business in, because I work in that area. It's not by far. But we do have a huge market here. And some companies, one of the examples that we identified in that video was an area which I enjoy talking about, is explosive or energetics. There's a huge, we have a very large manufacturer of fireworks who is looking for a new site to use both distribution and some manufacturing of their fireworks. And obviously one of the arguments that we're using there is that we are close to the big, huge LA, San Diego, San Francisco, not San Francisco much, but LA and San Diego, Riverside, San Bernardino County markets. And if they're producing fireworks and want to distribute them, obviously transporting explosives is an issue. So if they're currently located in Oklahoma, so by building a distribution and perhaps manufacturing facility here, they don't have to ship that very expensive explosive component across and have that liability and so on across the entire country. They only have a short distance to get to their markets. So that was one of the videos we had, was an impact video on explosives and energetics. And unlike most cities in California, if you were to go into LA, any part of LA, and say we want to store 350,000 square foot of fireworks in your neighborhood.
Not going to work.
They're not going to be happy with it. This community, however, when I talk to most people, they go on the base and work with stuff that makes fireworks look like, fireworks. So they're not, we don't have the sensitivity. We also have the open space and can provide the security around the facility to allow for that kind of business. So that was one of the
speaking of open space, I mean, where, just hypothetically, where would a business like that be located within the city limits?
We have 2 locations that are on the south end of town, where there's some open land as you're going out towards the intersection of China Lake Boulevard and 395. that are open space. That's where we could provide maybe up to 80 to 100. We have one site that's.
That's not annexed yet, though, is it?
No, no, no. This is within the city now.
Right.
That's open land. There is some open land that's within the city, again, you know, those details, we're not down to that level of discussion of how much safety zone we need and so on. But the concept is to get those guys in here talking to us, which we are, as a result of some of the stuff we're doing, we actually have them meeting with us and talking to us. So, you know, it may be difficult, but that's my job.
Right. Well, the first thing is to at least be able to talk to them.
That's right. And that was the purpose of that. This
I know that you took a lot of hits after the presentation, but the biggest thing is to at least be able to get somebody in to talk to them.
Right. And that the whole purpose of the material that I was presenting was just that. We're doing an email campaign out to the CEOs. We have targeted email lists, and we gain them through going to shows, and you can buy lists of CEOs and financial managers, senior people in the company.
But wouldn't it be better, and I think you're already doing this, but because like in your presentation that you gave of some of the follow-ups to what you've put out there already were for businesses in California.
Yes, a great number of them will be in California, so we don't have to fight that.
It's easier to get some business like that. This fireworks place, I guess you said they're running out of their
Oklahoma.
leases soon?
Yes.
And so they're looking for some place to relocate.
That's right.
As opposed to finding somebody in Oklahoma to consider coming to the
it's
a high tax state.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. You're right. The majority of the marketing we've done so far has been targeted to California companies, because you don't have to fight the battle of new tax, understanding the environment relative to that. And there are still a lot of people. It's still very expensive to do business in LA and Orange County and all those areas. Plus, frankly, I'm sure a lot of people in the community would not be overjoyed with this statement, but we have, for example, a much lower air quality control limits and requirements in our area.
Which is a big draw.
Which is a big draw as opposed to them. So they, a big company or a company that has a lot of, that requires a lot of air pollution controls in LA or wherever, even the west side of this county, would have those less costs to do. And of course we have a little breeze every once in a while, so this valley stays pretty clean. We don't have the same smokes effect that LA does. Where
We're going to have to break for a commercial, but hold that thought. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk, Thursday evening edition. I'm Robert Eierman, along with my co-host Al Huey. I shouldn't say the co-host Al Huey. And tonight's special guest is Mr.
Gary Parsons.
Yes.
Economic Development Manager.
Any second now it'll start working, folks. Anyway, Gary, thanks for coming in.
No problem.
And before we broke for commercial, you were talking about this presentation you gave.
Right.
And can you tell us about the interest that you've gotten feedback from some of these businesses that are already reaching out and wanting to talk to us?
Yeah, and you know, bottom line to this whole effort is that's the goal, is to get the businesses in here. And in my business, it's about, you talk to 10 companies and you'll get one company that succeeds that you get actually here. I mean, it's a numbers issue. You've got to put enough on the wall so some of them come off. And we have, if you were at the council, you would have seen a list at the very end of maybe 10 or 12 companies that we've talked to so far out as a result of this. And we're talking large companies here. We're not talking, 50 jobs, 20 jobs. We're talking 300 jobs. And in fact, I found it very interesting during the presentation that people didn't pick up on the fact, or didn't get more comments and questions about the one company we're talking about that is a valley changer. It's a 6,000 people job company.
Holy cow!
And it is that ranks, actually, if it was to provide all the services, and according to it, understand we're talking to the company now, and move all the people they're talking about, it would be the largest employer in the valley.
Is that Monster?
That's what we call Project Monster. That's why I got Monster Project.
Yeah. Now,
this is like climbing Everest. This is not going to be a simple issue. There's a tremendous amount of questions and barriers and other issues that we have to overcome. But the idea to be able to talk to companies this size and begin to get this kind of presence is really the goal, is to try to get companies that are 200, 300, 500, 600 jobs in here and change the whole spectrum of what we're trying to accomplish, rather than working on companies that maybe bring in 5 or 10 or 15 jobs.
Right.
The scale is different. And this company Monster is an example, real quickly, is an equity firm in New York who's bought like 12 or 15 companies and wants to merge them and put them under one umbrella. And they're going to build 3 sites, one in the West Coast, one in the Midwest, one in the East Coast. And we are the top candidate right now for the West Coast facility. And that's 6,000 jobs, just the West Coast. And these are existing jobs. They're not looking at recruiting 6,000 people here. They're talking about moving 6,000 people here that already exist in their systems. And
but there would be a potential for locals to hire in, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, if I bring a company that's got 6,000 people, we're going to have a whole lot of recruiting.
Because when a company like that relocates, not
everybody relocates.
No. That's just, I mean, this is Project Monster, remember? This isn't the norm. This is sort of like the game changer. But I found it funny that I didn't get any questions about that project.
Well, the one that got me on one of your list was Wolfgang Puck.
Yeah.
Showed some interest.
That's right. Wolfgang Puck showed some interest. Obviously, he's interested in looking at it from a restaurant type operation, and also he has a. Turns out he has a packaged. I call him TV dinner. Forgive me, Wolfgang Puck, but TV dinner kind of a.
Yeah, he sells cooking equipment,
right? And other kinds of stuff, and he's looking at a site again to serve those markets. And also have access to rural markets. One of the questions that was brought up is how close we are to LA. Depending on your definition of LA and where you're trying to go, it can go from, like we said, an hour and a half in the video, which is going to Lancaster, Palmdale, in that area, and maybe sometimes, depending how fast you drive, to Orange County a little bit. But if you're trying to get down to the center of LA, you're going to be 4 or 5 hours.
Robert could make it to LA in an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, that's right. So I mean, and the reason they're interested in that is because obviously they want access to that port for other reasons. So we are within a range that makes it possible to do that, and so that's why that slide was in there.
So when does it look like this is really going to get off the ground? Do you have any idea? You got to meet with these other people, like you said.
The mayor requested that we go through and have review by the chamber and by the IWV EDC, which is a local economic development nonprofit group, and another individual. And so we're going to have to go there and get their comments and inputs on the video, the impact videos, and the literature pieces. Not my whole 20-minute presentation. That was only for council. I think there was some misunderstanding. We were going to send that out. That's never going to happen. But it was just
she made the comment. The mayor made the comment that. It's a little long. You need to get it down to like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you couldn't do that presentation in 2 minutes.
No.
We're talking about the impact videos, the small impact videos that are designed for one industry only, and so going through that process is simply going to take time to have those folks get their comments in, make any adjustments we choose to want to make on that based on their input, and then be able to effectively use them. So that could delay our ability to use these tools for maybe a couple months.
Now, did the city IT people put that together, or did you contract
No.
that?
The contractor put that together for us.
Well, it was a very, very impressive presentation.
I didn't see it, so excuse me if I ask a silly question. No. But was it, or do you emphasize the comparatively low cost of living here?
No. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
This goes back to the internal view versus the external view. The external world, when I talk to a business CEO or the recruiting site selectors or whatever, the last thing on their list has to do with their employees. The first thing on their list has to do, yes, really.
Okay.
The last thing that they very rarely do.
I guess I'd make a poor CEO then.
Yeah. Well, the reality is that they're looking at how can I make they're looking for a location that's cheaper to operate in than any place else. Okay. Now, the only way you can do the housing costs, say for example, which are low here, affects their employees. The only way that the corporation benefits from that is by paying their employees less money, so that they can benefit from the company can benefit from those low housing costs. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I see what you're saying. I don't like
the
it,
company.
but
No, but the company is a separate thing
Yes.
than the individuals, the employees. The other thing is, for example,
But what about the aspect of attracting good employees that will stay with you because they
okay.
that kind of thing?
And what happens is, you get into that kind of discussion, like third step in the process or fourth step in the process.
All right.
First thing I got to get them to do is say, oh, it makes sense for the business to move here. Now, I want to retain my employees because I'm transferring them here. I'm not hiring them here, for the most part.
Yes.
And so, am I going to lose all my employees if I move there? The reality is the housing cost is not what is important to the employees. It's about quality of life.
We have to go away for another break. Hold that thought. We'll be back. Please join us. Welcome back to our final segment this evening on Ridgecrest Talk. We're delighted to have Mr. Gary Parsons, Economic Development for the City of Ridgecrest, and we're talking about bringing companies to the valley.
Mm-hmm. The presentation that Mr. Parsons gave at the recent City Council meeting was very well done, I thought. It had some issues that some of the council brought up at the end, but this was the first presentation, and this is not in concrete as of yet, they would say. So and that's what you wanted, was feedback, and you got it from the council and some from the public. Right. So I thought it was very well done. It does have some issues. I agree with one individual is a bit of an oversell.
Yes.
But like you said, you've got to get the hook out there.
Right. I find it interesting because the one thing you said of the hook is probably the one video, which was the video on quality of life. There was a little small video in there that was we put together for just the impact for quality of life issues. And in that quality of life, we talked about dozens of lakes. I thought that was a little bit of express too.
Yeah.
We don't have dozens of lakes. We do have maybe a dozen lakes you have access to, because you think about Bakersfield's got 2 lakes. And
and
people here fish all the time. So we do have lakes. It's just maybe we expounded on that a little bit too much.
Yeah, they're not within the city limits.
But I don't think if you've ever watched late night TV and watched some of these guys selling you pots and pans, they don't do the same kind of stuff. I mean, it's not unheard of.
Right.
Now, we probably could turn down some of that, and I appreciated the comment, and I think we can try to get the same effect without going maybe too far over.
Right.
But again, like you said, these are designed to be 2 minutes of grab your attention, pull you in, and
well, these people, I think he was jumping the gun. I mean, you'd like to have the response, excuse me, like he was presenting it, that somebody see this and they jump on a plane and fly out here. No, they're going to email you, talk to you.
Believe me, a gentleman
before they get on any plane.
A gentleman that's running a 500 employee business or 300 employee business does a little bit of background checking and does his own due diligence. Believe me, he does.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be in that spot if he didn't know how to do that.
This is just to get you the opportunity to get their ear.
Right, to get the conversation going. And make them aware that Ridgecrest exists. I mean, truthfully, if I'm in New York, I don't know that Ridgecrest exists. So it's trying to get him over all the other cities in the United States. We're trying to get him to talk to us. So it probably is a little bit, like I said to the council to start with. There is some oversell in it. I wouldn't deny that. But anyway, the idea was to get the council aware of what we're trying to do and the public aware and get some feedback. We did. We're going to do some more processing, and we'll work with the company, and they're very good to do this. But I find it interesting. The first thing I do, most comment I get is on the quality of life issues and the internal perspective, which the public sees more of than
yes.
Right.
But I see your point that to the corporate bigwigs, it probably is not high on their list.
Not high on their list, no.
Let's talk about something that is occurring, and that's the Super Walmart.
Mm-hmm. Before we go there, though.
Okay.
Along with your presentation, you've got a new link on the city website.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk real quickly about that.
Well, part of the process we did with the company, the first underlying thing is we created a Ridgecrest Economic Development webpage. And So if the citizens like to see that, that's new, and I think well done, very well done. They just go to business, they can go to the city website, it's right in the middle of the city website,
Right.
or you can go to ridgecrestbusiness.com, which is another.
And it'll pull it up.
It'll pull it up. Either way, you're going to get that, and then if you go to individual, there's like 5 industry pages on the bottom, or divisions on the bottom, depending on how you want to look at it. You punch that, and that gets you to a landing page, which is, and then that's specific to that industry. So, and there's a lot of other stuff in there. And that's an ongoing, that's a living, growing document that'll constantly be updated and changed as we grow. So that's a good one.
Check that out on the city's website.
Yep.
And it's pretty well done. And not a lot of detail there, but there's some good information there that any prospective business, again, it might hook them to, hey, let's check this out a little further.
Yes, that's right.
All right, and you're bringing up Super Walmart.
Yes.
My favorite project.
It should be. It's gonna change this town.
Yeah, the Super Walmart is basically on schedule, moving forward as it does. The next big thing that the public's going to see is they're going to work on the intersection of Channel Lake and Bowman, and you may have seen some of the signs out and so on. They're putting culverts in there that you can drive a tractor through,
right,
so we can clean it out instead of the little pipes that were in there before. And they're going to redo the entire intersection, lighting. It's going to be 4 lanes. Both sides of Bowman now will be 4 lanes. A large amount of investments going into that intersection, and they hope to have that done. The reason they delayed on that is because you didn't want to be able to lay asphalt after you tear it all up.
Right.
So they've been waiting for the weather to be a temperature that they can do that at. And so they're actively going forward. And I wanted to mention to the public, there's been some question of whether there will be a tire and lube center in there.
It looks like there is.
And it looks like it is, however, that's not the case.
Really?
What you're seeing there is the garden area. And those are the pillars for the garden area, and the roll-up doors are for the garden area.
Okay.
So the reality is there is no gas and lube. Sorry, guys, going in. No, I say that in one hand. I say that in one hand, and I say to our existing tire lube guys, we're not always trying to replace you, so feel bad about that. So I mean, that's not part of the Walmart, because I hear that a lot, so that's why I bring it up. And there's no fueling station at this point planned by Walmart. I've heard that comment too, or gas station. However, there is a pad in the front, which is they're doing now. You'll see they're working on some of the stuff like that. One of the pads is designated for a fuel station. Walmart chose not to build one at this point, and probably will lease out, we understand, and I use the word probably there, to a large gasoline station to do that. So we'll probably get a gasoline station there, but it probably won't be a Walmart.
Is there any progress on the north side of Bowman relative to that property being...
Oh yeah, you see the sign out there? I think that's wonderful. You talk about overselling. It's got a big sign, and it shows the retail center, and it shows retail spots and all that. At least the last time I talked to the developer, which was about 3 weeks ago, there's not one site leased or anything else done. He just put up the signs so that people locally might be interested. But in order to get that center built, he has to have what we call 2 or 3 anchors. Leases, larger facilities, and we don't have that in place yet. So.
What do they call that? The Bowman Channel?
Yes.
Boy, on the east side of China Lake Boulevard, that looks fabulous what they've done so far.
Yes.
And are they going to go on the west side of Bowman also?
No, they're only going to go to the channel will be improved all the way down to the back of the Walmart.
And boy, we ran out of time again. You'll have to join us another time when we have Gary back.
We'll have you back and give us an update later on.
Okay, good.
So join us then.
Good night, folks. Have a good evening.